The communist philosophy is the philosophy of scientific realism. The communists believe in building a classless society. They differ in their idea of freedom. The free individual, as conceived by communism, is considered to be really free since his freedom does not restrict the power of the state and he is free in the sense that he works for the good of all. His own individuality does not matter till his work with his fellows is for the furtherance of the interests of the state. Education is given with specific task and its success is judged on the basis of national progress and prosperity. The individual is not free to pursue his own choice of subject or career. The individual refinement is considered of value only in terms of social good. Democracy believes in giving independence to the people, but if the people are not educated and not disciplined for social good, then this independence would take the form of anarchy. Hutchins 1953 says political freedom cannot endure unless it is accompanied by provision for the unlimited acquisition of knowledge. Peace is not likely unless there are continuous, unlimited opportunities for learning and unless men continuously avail themselves of them. For the success of democracy, it is essential that each individual owns his responsibilities consciously, and this will be possible when the individual's power of understanding is high and he is of good character. Gandhiji said, I hold that democracy cannot be evolved by forcible methods. The spirit of democracy cannot be imposed from without. It has to come from within. He also said Swaraj is to be obtained by educating the masses to a sense of their capacity to regulate and control authority. Therefore, such education is desirable, which makes conversant the citizens with the democratic ideals and develops in them those qualities which are most. Gandhiji said, I hold that democracy cannot be evolved by forcible methods. The spirit of democracy cannot be imposed from without, it has to come from within. He also said Swaraj is to be obtained by educating the masses to a sense of their capacity to regulate and control authority. Therefore, such education is desirable, which makes conversant the citizens with the democratic ideals and develops in them those qualities which are most. The education should inculcate self realization, human relationship, economic efficiency, and civic responsibility. The above discussion shows the emphasis laid down in different political systems. Each leads to a particular type of educational system to fulfill the principles of the political system. Influence of political system on Indian education. We will attempt a brief discussion on the influence of various political situations in India on her education. Here, we will look at the changes happening in Indian education due to the influence of her rulers. The discussion will deal only up to National Education Policy on 1986 in order to show how the change in political situations shaped the course of Indian education. In the ancient period, educational policy was laid down by the religious system. There are three broad strands of education that prevailed during this period: the Vedic tradition, Buddhist educational policy, and the Jain system of education. As the caste system got crystallized, occupations became hereditary rather than a matter of aptitude. Hence, new entrants to the society were socialized in the family. The occupational training was received from their elders by practicing. Formal education was allowed only for the upper castes. Education at the elementary level was provided by the local communities, parents, and philanthropic rulers, and the nature of education imparted consisted of certain common curricular aspects. In the Buddhist and Jain systems, there were no restrictions of entry based on one's birth, as there was no caste system in these religions. The Muslim rulers in the medieval period did not interfere with the education of the Hindus. They started their own schools in their places of worship. Education continued to be self directed and offered through self controlled decentralized institutions. However, emperors like Akbar and his successors encouraged the starting and maintaining of elementary schools called maktabs in mosques. Madrasas were established as the centers of higher learning to teach Persian and the Quran. The separation of the Hindu religion from the state had a greater impact on the accessibility factor. The religion legitimized the state. With the advent of the Muslim rulers, the Hindu religion lost its superior position. Consequently, the hold of the caste system on education started becoming weak. In the absence of state control and interference, all types of educational institutions continued to function under local patronage and under the supervision of religious leaders. There was no change in the content and process of education. The clientele for education obtained schooling to carry out their traditional occupations. Initially, the Britishers showed interest in Indian education so as to assure the powerful educated sections that were the product of the caste based social stratification. Later, when the regime established itself, it was the stratification which tried to persuade the rulers to expand the education system to ensure their participation in the governance of the masses. In between the two systems, the educational system grew to balance the demands of the community and the state. The colonial era started with the entrenchment of East India Company as a mercantile interest in the subcontinent. The Christian missionaries who were brought by the company as an obligation started their proselytizing activities, that means converting of the people from one religion to the other, and opened schools for the converted lower castes. The missionary activity in education became another structural elaboration of the indigenous system. The company began conquering more territories and ruling over them with the protection of the British Empire. The Hindu upper castes resisted the missionary activities. The company did not want to interfere in the educational spheres. The politico economic compulsions of the period compelled the rulers to adopt a pro native educational system policy. In 1781, the Calcutta Madrasa was started to conciliate the influential Muslims and Hindus. This was followed by the starting of the Benares Sanskrit College in 1791. Right from 1797, Charles Grant, an influential statesman, was advocating that English education be introduced in India. The famous Macaulay's Minutes forcefully supported the cause of English education in the Indian territories to prepare the people who could occupy the subordinate positions in the colonial government and help in administering the natives. English became the official language in 1837. Demand for English education was created by throwing open the subordinate positions for the natives in 1844. In 1854, Charles Grant, while supporting the educational policy of education through English language, put forward the case for education through native languages. No action was taken due to political reasons. Till now, we have seen the change of education system with minimum control from the rulers, being the privilege of some meant only for learning the skills of the trade for the artisans to gradually becoming the pulse of the ruling power. It slowly takes up the active role of ushering change as desired by the governing body. In 1857, Indian territories came under the direct rule of the British Crown. During the same year, the Government of India started universities at Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. Primary education suffered neglect till 1882, when the Indian Education Commission recommended providing of funds. Thus, the management of primary education came under local self-government. This period also saw the creation of Indian educational services in 1896. There was a rapid growth of private schools and colleges while indigenous schools decayed and disappeared. Under Lord Curzon, 1902 to 1921, the policy shifted towards the improvement of quality of education. More finances were available for education. Government assumed a more active role in the field of education. There was a large scale of unprecedented expansion of government supported and government recognized institutions of education at all levels. But the literacy rates and enrollment were far from satisfactory. Under diarchy 1921 to 1937, the governance of education was under the legislature, but the financial arrangements were with the government. Though there were conflicts, this period was marked by considerable progress. There was a widespread growth of institutions and enrollment. One important one important development of the period was the use of Indian languages as the medium of education at the secondary level. The last decade of the colonial rule saw the abolishment of the diarchy, slackening the secondary education and the expansion of higher education. The expansion of primary education was also halted. During 1937 to 1939, far reaching decisions were taken by the elected provincial governments in the field of education. The new system of education proposed by Gandhiji was worked out in detail by the educationists under the leadership of Dr. Zakir Hussain. Unfortunately, for the common people of India, the full scale implementation was not on the cards, as the elected provincial governments had to resign because of the political differences with the British in the context of the outbreak of the Second World War. The Sargent Plan. The plan had the clear cut objective of achieving educational development in 40 years, which would be comparable to the level of educational development prevailing in Britain at that time. It addressed universal compulsory education, high school, training of teachers, creation of employment bureaus, and the education of physically and mentally handicapped. It definitely shows the earnestness with which the government tried to improve the quality of education comprehensively, though it was criticized for many reasons. Post-independence period. Immediately after independence, Government of India had to tackle grave problems like refugees, partition, and strengthening the administration. The priority given to education is evident from the appointment of the University Education Commission under Dr. Radhakrishnan amidst the crisis-like situation in the country. The government felt the need for the improvement of the universities to produce educated manpower for administration and skilled manpower for the modernization of the economy by harnessing new technologies. Most of the states structured their education systems at the school level according to the Sargent Plan. Since the plan accepted most of the features of basic education, Gandhiji's new education plan, and also supported a dual system of traditional primary schools and basic primary schools. The University Education Commission 1948-1949 laid great stress on the introduction of general education throughout school and college stages. The Commission clearly wanted that the school should diversify its outcomes in such a way that many would effectively participate in real life by taking up self employment and only a few would study beyond school level. So, dear learners, that's it for now. I hope you have understood whatever we discussed today. If at all you find that you have not understood a particular topic or a concept or any word, you can post it in the comments box. I'll definitely answer to it. Or, if needed, I can even make a new video for explaining that concept and post it. Do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.